thank you so much for coming today with iRock and Foster Reads. I really would like to extend a warm welcome to you. And thank you so much for coming. More than anything, congratulations on your new book, Like a Summer Song. I'm really dying to read it again. I'm really dying to read it again. For our audience, unfortunately, the book is yet to come out officially, but I really hope that it's going to be a super success. What do you feel? How are you feeling currently?
I am feeling super excited and I'm feeling, of course, a little bit of nerves as well. So I think that's a good thing. Of course, I think this has been a long-standing dream of mine. I wrote this book for the first time in 2020 and now in 2023 end, it's actually coming out. So it's been a long journey.
3 years.
Yeah, it's been about 3 years and I think it is a journey that I had to embark on. So it's changed me a lot as a person as well. So I'm just really happy to be here today and really looking forward to how the book is, received by people, by readers, and there's already so much excitement about the cover and about so many other things that I've been doing on social media. So I'm really optimistic and excited, slightly nervous. So yeah, cocktail of emotions, you can say.
Wishing you all the very best. But definitely, yes, Like a Summer Song, an amazing book cover. I'm sure the book is going to be really popular. But then most of the time what happens, we get to know about the book. We get to know the characters inside the book.
Yeah.
We rarely get to understand about the author.
Yeah.
Tell us about who is Simran? Like, who is Simran Dudeja? Who is she? How would you explain? If she's your best friend,
Wow.
who would she be?
I love this question. Seeing yourself from a third person's eye is so interesting and, requires so much objectivity sometimes. But, to talk about myself, I think Simran is so many things. But deep down, she's just a creative soul. Technically, by education, I'm an engineer. But I've taken multiple roles in life, gone various hats. I've worked in management consulting with the likes of BCG for about 3 years. Then I've pivoted careers into marketing. And I think that was very fulfilling for me because I was able to align my profession to slightly something more creative and more fun.
Interesting.
But I think there was a time in my life where I realized that I need to take a break and pursue what my calling was, and that was to write. So right now I'm on a small break, career break, and I'm pursuing my journey as a writer, and I'm really excited for it. And I think if there are 3 words, if I have to describe myself, there'll be creative, imaginative, and someone who's a bit of a compulsive overthinker sometimes. And I think, I know, and I think these 3 things somehow just come together and make you a writer, even if you don't want to. Because in my opinion, writing is essentially creative overthinking.
Very much.
So, I think seriously, it's a very exciting journey now to be a writer.
Definitely. I think it's not just for writers, even for readers. Yeah, we are.
We are, right? Yeah, I think I'm a reader too, and I completely understand.
Definitely, we agree. So tell me this. So you were an engineer. You worked in management and marketing. So where did this idea about writing a book even come from? Like, that's a relationship. Where did it come from? Have you always wanted to write a book like when you were a child, or did it sprout upon so suddenly one day? Like, where did that come from? That inspiration?
So, honestly, writing has always been a part of who I am.
Okay.
I remember, I'll just go back to a childhood anecdote. I was this kid who was preparing for engineering entrance exams, So I used to, when I was in class 11th and 12th, so much of my time was just spent in maths and physics coaching, and I used to be solving complex problems. But the break that I used to take to study English, because English is also a key subject, right? And I CBSE board.
Definitely.
That time used to be the most, that used to be like a break. That used to be like my window to just be myself. Because I could just lose myself into stories. I could lose myself into the minds of different writers and characters. So that's when I always knew that I also wanted to become a storyteller, create this world for someone else to escape into as well.
So that's interesting.
That is where I think it comes from. And I've always been writing. I also had a blog in college with a friend, and
Tell us more about it. I don't want to.
yeah,
It's still active.
not really.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't keep up with it, but I used to work on this blog with a friend of mine, and I remember I had written this one short story for the blog. It was called One Rainy Evening, and it was like a dream sequence. And my best friend, who I wrote the blog with, he actually just said to me, "Hey, you know what? You can make a whole novel out of this. There's so much potential in this one short story." And I was like, "What are you saying? I can never do it. What do you think? I'm not a writer. I just write for fun. I can't do it." And he was like, "No, you can." And that was in 2018, and I never picked the idea up. But then in 2020, I was like, you know, when we were forced into lockdown, and we were forced into our own company, right?
Yeah.
We had to like confront what it is that we truly want. And that was when I came back to that idea. And then I started building on it. And since then, it's been a long journey, but the whole book comes from that idea. And if you look at the book right now, the current prologue of the book actually captures the essence of that one short story that I had been
That's an
in
interesting. I mean, it's very. I mean, for me, as a, just listening to you telling this right now, it's like we really don't know where inspirations come from, right?
It's my favorite subject. Inspiration.
This is amazing. Oh, but tell me, I mean, this is like we also more curious.
Yeah.
What, like now you're telling how you become a writer, where your inspiration come from. What gets you running as a writer? Like what do you do on a day-to-day basis? What is your routine like? How do you stay inspired writing your stuff?
Yeah. So when I talk about what keeps me running, of course, I think chai is one thing that
Cheers to that.
and I do run on chai. I'm a big tea drinker, and I think morning routines are something I think they've become really popular these days. But more than just an Instagram fad, I think it's a lot about discipline. And I think my morning routine of just waking up and taking that 1 hour to myself. So I've read somewhere how in the morning our brains are in a theta state. And that is when you can kind of reprogram your subconscious better. Your brain is more susceptible to learning and being more creative. So that, you know, brief window before you start your entire day, that time is something that I like to take for myself. I end up doing my morning pages. I end up doing my morning journaling during that time. And that is like that stream of consciousness, right? With sitting with my cup of tea and with my journal and writing what I feel like, what comes to me in that moment is, I think that's transformed me a lot as a person and as a writer. And I think that time just gives me, I basically invite inspiration in that time. I tell inspiration that, hey, I'm here for you and I'm waiting for you. And then inspiration comes to you in ways you never know.
Got it. So it's so personal to you then. That's why your book cover has journal on it.
Yeah, exactly. One of the main themes in the book is also writing therapy.
Writing therapy.
Correct. Journaling and writing therapy are very important themes. So writing therapy, in my opinion, writing therapy is essentially using writing as a technique, as a tool to explore and unpack your own emotions and feelings. And to gain clarity and objectivity on your own life and all that is going on inside of your head, right? And that helps you grasp around that. Yeah, that helps you gain clarity, that helps you a lot of, I think, a lot of mental health practitioners also suggest journaling as one of the ways to cope with anxiety, to cope with a lot of overbearing emotions. I think life gets tough for all of us, and oftentimes we are not in a position where we are able to take out the time and figure out what's really going on inside our heads, right? So using writing as that tool to unpack and gain clarity in your life, I think that's very helpful. And it's also called art therapy by a lot of people. So people end up people end up writing a lot of art and poetry through that, right? There's this popular term called notes app poetry, right? It's actually notes app poetry. So what is it? I'll tell you. It's basically very interesting. So when you're like really overwhelmed and you know you just don't know what to do, so a lot of people just write a poem in their phone notes app.
That's what
The phone notes app, right? They end up writing a very a stream of consciousness, a free verse poem that just comes to them, which is like very raw, very vulnerable. It just is, not prepared, not like no editor's sword has touched it.
Yeah.
So it's that vulnerable, raw piece of art. So that's what notes app poetry is, right? And again, so that's all linked to art therapy at the end of the day, making art, creating art in order to interest you better.
Yeah, I think then, do you talk about art therapy a lot more inside the book? As a reader, if I'm reading the book, I get to learn and understand about writing therapy a lot more.
No, I don't use it as like you won't find it in a preachy way where you will be told what is art therapy or how is it done.
Okay.
But it's a subtle recurring theme in the book where the characters are, going on this journey where they are basically dealing with so much in their lives, right? It's a story about campus life, about adulting, about long distance relationships, about solo travel and soul searching. So I think this is a recurring theme where they use writing and journaling as a concept to go through life, to get through life. And both of them, they are creative souls, and that's how they connect.
I have a journal lying at my home and I'm just lazy to start writing in it. But you're inspiring me today to actually go back to my journal and writing it.
That's amazing.
No, because you were... I really hope so. Now that you were talking about the characters, how the characters were using journaling inside the book, I'm more curious to understand a lot about the characters. I understand there are 3 main characters in the book, right?
Yes.
Can you introduce the characters to us? I don't want to give out any spoilers. Our audience should definitely not have any spoilers. But can you tell us, who are these characters? Who are they like? What are they like?
So, our main character is Dhruv.
Oh, Dhruv.
Dhruv is the main character.
Dhruv
Malhotra. He is the guy everybody loves. He's the typical guy next door who's smart and handsome. He's getting straight A's. He's in the finance clubs and he plays football. He does everything right by the book. If you and I knew Dhruv, maybe we'd had a crush on him. He's that guy. What did he do? Okay, do right. Okay, that's great. So, but that's Dhruv on the outside.
Yeah.
But who is Dhruv on the inside? On the inside, when nobody is watching, he is he's hunched over his journal, writing a song, playing his guitar, and listening to that one song that brings him comfort and brings him a feeling of belongingness. So, I think we all know such people who somehow seem perfect on the outside. Their lives seem perfect on the outside, but on the inside, they have so much going on. There is so much struggle going on. There is so much conflict going on, but nobody knows about that.
Nobody knows.
And I think that's something so interesting. That's a concept that I really fancy because you never know what goes on inside the head of a person.
Like, do not judge a book by its cover.
Exactly.
We have no idea unless and until we are diving deep into it. That's true. That's really true.
And the whole book is also centered around the idea of how Dhruv goes through his life and how he basically confronts all these things that are going inside of his head, how he confronts his past and figures out what is it that he truly wants in his future, and a lot of transformation and character growth that happens through it, right? And how maybe, just going through some amount of spiritual growth as well. I think
Interesting.
spiritual, emotional, mental growth, right? That someone has to go through in their 20s to be able to actually figure out what it is that they truly want and what it is that they truly need. Because sometimes what you want and what you need could look different. And we don't know. We think we know what we want.
Exactly.
But we don't know what we need. So I think there's a whole journey that you have to go through in order to figure out what is it that you truly need. And come to terms with it, not to terms with yourself.
How did you build this character? Because exactly like you said, personally, a lot of times I think this is what I want, but I don't really necessarily think that is what I should be doing or that is what I really need. So when you're trying to build a character who has a lot of these conflicts in the mind, How did you work around that? Like as an author perspective, when you're building a character, when you're trying to build those small complexities of thoughts of the character, how was your perspective? Like how did you go through that as an author?
Yeah. I think that's one of my most favorite things to do.
Okay.
As an author, because I think it's very interesting when you, as an author, it just feels so freeing that you can step into the minds of different characters and you can just be them for a while. But you also have the objectivity of a third person, of being your own person. So you can just, kind of don multiple hats, step into various shoes, and just play around with the world and play around with different plot lines. And I think that's my favorite part of being an author. But to answer your question more objectively, I think how I build characters is essentially by, firstly, I think every writer uses their own world as inspiration.
Yes.
So I think there are elements of Dhruv in different people that I know, right? And somehow even me.
Yeah.
Some of the experiences and journeys that I've had in my life, the character of Dhruv reflects that.
Yeah.
Similarly, the other main character, the female lead Vanya, she also has some elements that I embody. And I think the women that I know, what I've seen and what I've observed, I've taken those little pieces and I've created Vanya. Lovely. Oh, I think you just borrow a little from everywhere and then you create a new thing.
Ah, interesting. I hope this conversation, I'm becoming a character in your next book. I hope so.
You never know.
Never know.
You have to read.
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely.
I'm sure.
But that is interesting how you've put it across also. Because in some parts of the book, what I've also realized, you were really talking about a strong support system. Here you were talking about Vanya maybe, but then I think it is for everybody. A girl, a guy, I mean, it doesn't matter. Everybody needs a strong support system, right? What is your support system like? Who are your support system? Who are your pillars in your life?
That's a very interesting question. I am blessed to have some really close friends and supportive parents who've never, like right now I'm a full-time writer,
Yeah.
an author, and my parents didn't bat a single eyelash.
Great.
My parents were super supportive.
Thanks, Uncle Auntie. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So they've been super supportive. So in that way, I've been lucky. I've been a person who's depended a lot on people in her life in my early 20s. But now that in my mid 20s, I think I'm someone who kind of tries to draw the strength from within myself, because I think that's again a kind of like a plot line that you have to go through in your life where you realize, right? So I don't know how many of these listeners are going to be Taylor Swift fans, but there is a song by Taylor Swift which says you're on your own, kid.
Oh, yeah,
right? And I think
yes.
there's a time in everyone's life where you realize that despite having a lovely circle of people, everybody's on their own. And
I agree with it.
and at the end of the day, and what I mean by that is not to disregard what I have. Super grateful for all that I have, but I think there are certain struggles that everybody has, which they have to unpack and go through themselves. And these struggles are often emotional and spiritual struggles. So I think the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual are all linked. So, yeah, and I think at the end of the day, eventually you have to draw that strength from within. And I think if you ask me about support systems, I would also say that writing is a big support system for me. Writing is something, I can't tell you the number of times in my life that writing has saved me. I think I was drowning, and to be able to write, to be able to explore the corners of my own psyche and create, say, a poem out of it, or create a character and get an inspiration of the idea of a novel. I think to turn grief into art
Is so beautiful.
I think turning grief into art is a gift. And I think I never intend to take that gift for granted.
Okay, that's so amazing. I've been seeing the way you're glowing today. I'm sure people are just going to close their eyes and take that advice from you in writing. I am definitely taking that advice from you. I mean, that's really nice. But that's beautiful. But when you're talking about spiritual growth and everything, because you seem to be really connected with all of that. And I also read from your profile that you also practice yoga.
Yeah.
So how was this all connecting to you? Is the yoga, meditation, like what all do you do? Is this helping out in your creativity? Is there some advice for creativity perspective you would want to give away to aspiring writers?
Right. Of course, I think I believe in a very holistic wellness concept, and I think it's very hard to achieve. But I believe that your physical, your mental, your emotional, and your spiritual are all linked. So when it comes to physical wellness, I think it's so important to move your body, to work out, exercise, eat right? I mean, I like to have a little fun with the physical. I mean, I sometimes like to go for a Pilates class. Sometimes I'll just do a dance workout, a Zumba class or something like that. I like to practice yoga as well. I think yoga is so complete in itself, and I think
I'm a practitioner as well, yes.
oh lovely. So I think the yoga poses and all of that, they somehow just hold the power of oneness.
Yeah, I completely get
I
that.
think once you've like done a nice session of yoga, you just feel like yourself. You just feel like everything's better in the world, and
I agree. Everything opens up.
everything opens up. Exactly. And I think if you take care of your physical, your mental follows. Because physical health is related to mental health. I personally believe in taking care of my physical health for the sake of my mental health too, right?
That is true. That is true.
It's all about hormones at the end of the day. I mean, you need that endorphin kick in your life to be able to feel good. And that follows suit your emotional and your spiritual to be able to take some time out to just watch your thoughts, to meditate, to reflect. Take that time and make that time your sacred time. So in that time, you either meditate, you let inspiration come to you, just, give it to yourself. I think that's very
amazing, beautiful. Good luck to this journey that you are in. I'm sure that's a beautiful journey that you are in. And the way you are seeming to be happy, successful, you published a book. Yeah, that's a huge success.
Finally, I did.
To that. That is how it goes also. Now coming back to the book, so we spoke about the amazing Dhruv.
Yes.
We spoke about the dear Vanya. But I also read from the back cover, there is an X of Dhruv who's popping up here and there. Who is that? Do I need to be sounding a little concerned? Yeah. No spoilers.
You're not getting any spoilers, don't worry. But yes, there is another character in the book apart from Dhruv and Vanya. There is Anisha Singhania. And what I've actually built on is the contrast between the two, and I think that's very exciting to me, and I hope it's to the audiences as well. So while Vanya is someone who's a little, she keeps to herself. She prefers the company of books over boys. She's the eldest daughter of an upper middle class household in Delhi, right? And she has a younger sister. So she's had the burden of her father's expectations, which would have ideally been probably pointed on a son, had there been one, right, in an Indian family. But there isn't. So she's quietly shouldering the burden, trying to be nice, trying to please everyone. And there's this term in pop culture, and I think in psychotherapy also, it's called the nice girl syndrome. People talk about nice boys and nice guys all the time, but I think what we also need to talk about is the nice girl syndrome. There are so many women I see around me, and despite all the empowerment and all of that, I think there's so many women who just try to be nice, who try to shrink themselves. I agree. Try to simply please other people and forego their own needs. Yeah. And they put others before themselves just to be nice, just to not take space. Okay. So while Vanya is someone who fits into those kind of categories, Anisha is more free-spirited. Anisha is more unhinged. Anisha doesn't think too much.
How is it?
She does things that please her. Okay. And she'll do things that she wants, and then she'll think. Vanya will think a lot.
Got it.
But Anisha will think later.
And I contrast. I mean, really. I mean, nice.
Yeah, and I think I have sort of built both these characters on elements that I would want to have, or, kind of I'm teetering in between, right? I would want to think less and probably be more unhinged in life. But, that's the Anisha in me. And at the same time, I'm the one I am really who's surrounded with books and doesn't want to like go out and just like, be in her own zone and is probably overthinking everything in the world. So I think those are the podcasts. And I think who we are is all about balance, and we're all trying to kind of balance all these different elements in us and try to live a life.
So, the yin and yang inside everybody.
Yin and yang.
Everybody has these two. But that is beautifully how you portrayed it. I was about to, in fact, ask you, among these two characters, the two girls we're talking about inside in the book, whom do you resemble the most? But now I get the feeling like it's going to be a split.
Where in the middle, yeah. I think there are more Vanya, I think, but there are, of course, elements of Anisha in me. And those elements of Anisha help me draw this character. And I think when I write about Anisha, I feel so uninhibited and I feel so bold. So I just love writing about Anisha.
Nice.
But yeah, I think both these characters are parts of me.
No, I just have one last question to you, but you might need to think a little bit about that.
Okay.
You told me about this 3-year journey of writing this book, right? Why during this entire process, if you can you also tell me about how have you evolved as a person? Like, what is your growth been like in this journey of from the point of the idea till the time now you published your book, officially available from mid-December.
Correct.
How has your personal growth been? How have you grown? Can you, if you don't mind sharing, tell us few things. How was Simran before and who's Simran today?
Okay, that's actually something that requires me to rack my brains a little bit.
Okay, go on.
But I think to put it more succinctly, I think it would be that it has helped me. Writing this book has changed me a lot. From someone who just had an idea and an inspiration about this one short story that had these characters which I could build on, to creating a full-length novel and to be able to build on that story and to be able to publish it today. I think it's changed me on so many levels. And I think the professional journey I've also had in my corporate career has helped me a lot. I think that was the time I pivoted into marketing, and I think I was able to harness my creativity better. And I think I grew a lot as a writer, as a person. And I think writing anyway changes you, and when it is writing a whole novel, I think it completely transforms you.
Oh, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm so glad that
I think then all of us should aim a little bit more to write about it.
Why not? I remember I was speaking with some author and we were discussing that, everyone has a book inside of them.
It's more than one book, maybe.
I don't think it's just one book. Yeah. Everyone has a book in them, but it just depends on how well do you know yourself to be able to rack it out of yourself and put it out in the world. That's the challenge.
Because we've always observed, when you're asking people to tell about somebody else, you can go on for half an hour. And the moment you ask them to tell about yourself, we get stuck.
We
really get stuck.
We don't know ourselves. I don't think they do. And that's where I think writing helps. It kind of also helps you get to know yourself better. I think for me, the entire process of writing is essentially trying to resolve certain threads and conflicts inside of my head, put characters there, put conflicts over there, and go on this journey on resolving them. It's like driving in the dark, and I know my destination is somewhere there.
Right at the end.
I know there is the destination, but I don't know the way. And I think that's life. I think that's life. We all know where we want to get at, but we don't know what's the way. And that way you have to figure out. And I think that's what writing is.
Well, you might get lost also in between.
Of course.
Very true.
And not all those who wander are lost.
Very true. I completely agree.
We all need to wander and we will get lost, but we'll come back. And I think that's right.
I think how we are talking about writing, I'm personally connecting it with yoga. I think my yoga is your writing. It could be, I think it could be different for everybody, right?
But I think everybody has that one thing, right? How you feel about yoga, I feel about writing. And having that one piece of thing in your life is so important.
So maybe we could just put it like, find that, what's the term? Ikigai.
It's your
guy.
Correct.
Guy for everybody. It could be your garden, it could be your family, it could be your anything basically. It could be your job. If you're really interested in what you're doing.
Lucky are those who can find their ikigai in their job. I am jealous of those people.
Interesting. So then, now my very, very cliche question to any author. So what would your advice be to any other people who would love to come up like you, who has an idea, who wants to write a book? What would you want to tell there?
I think one big advice for any aspiring author would be just to listen to themselves. I think oftentimes we just don't listen to our own voice.
Okay.
And this is again a theme in the book where when you talk about the support system that, people need and women need, I think we need more people around us telling us, listen to our own inner voice. We let our inner voice be clogged by the judgment of others. We let the noise outside
Subconsciously, right?
Yeah,
People intentionally doing that.
we let the noise outside dampen our own inner voice. And writing is about finding your inner voice. And when I say inner voice, it doesn't mean finding your inner voice in terms of your story and your plot, but just taking the plunge. Listening to yourself and knowing that if this is something that you want to do and if this is your calling, listening to yourself, giving the due credit to your callings and taking the plunge. Because you owe it to yourself. I think we all have one life and we all owe it to ourselves to take our own chances and to find our own paths.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful advice. Thank you a lot for sharing this. Thank you. Beautiful thought on our very first conversation at Foster Reads and iRock. Thanks to Chai Point for helping us do this today.
Sure.
And thank you so much, Simran, for being here today. And I really wish you a good luck. I have a feeling that this book is going to be doing amazing.
Oh my God, I love it.
Thank you. So let's wait for it and let's really see how things are going on. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you. And good luck. Thank you.